Welcome you to Moruya, to the land of the Kabara, and on behalf of my cousin Leanne, who's the chair of the Kabara Aboriginal Land Council, welcome everyone today to this historic event. And the key word is I see you, and I see you today, and I welcome you today. Walawani everyone.
To my good mates and fearless advocates, Fiona and Christy, you are very fortunate to have these people in your local community. I see them firsthand, very, very much up close, and they are fierce warriors for the people of the South and Far South Coast. And on behalf of the region, can I thank both of you for your involvement. To Fitzroy, thank you for your organisation and facilitation of this. It's been very much appreciated. And Kerry had a talk to me over there, and I've been working on this with Dr. Holland for some time now. I've come down several times, and I've spent many times calling and corresponding with Dr. Holland. But I've got to say, Kerry put it in pretty clear terms. I'm a dad with 2 boys, and if I had experienced this, I'd be pretty pissed off, to be honest. And you deserve better. And I can assure you, this issue is going to be raised in the Parliament by me. It will be raised in the bureaucracy by me. Perhaps as soon as tomorrow, it will be raised in budget estimates as we question the health officials and the minister about why this commitment was made, yet we're not getting the commitment that was made. And
yes,
I helped establish the Regional and Rural Health Inquiry, and last year, probably even from my own side, people were like, is this really going to take off? Is this a big issue? And I said, trust me on this. We fought. The government didn't want the inquiry. We, with the support of the crossbench, we got this inquiry into regional and rural health. And what has it highlighted? Well, 704 submissions later, one of the most comprehensive inquiries to take place in the Parliament in recent years. We've been going around New South Wales. We paused obviously for COVID, but we are back. Heading down into parts of the Far South Coast and Western New South Wales later on this year. What it is highlighting is this, is that the level of healthcare that people are getting in regional and rural communities is simply inadequate and is not something that would be acceptable in our major metropolitan areas. Now, no one expects, of all the people I've talked to in regional and rural community, no one expects a St Vincent's in every town and every village. But they expect a level of care and a level of access to care that people like me in the major metropolitan cities of Wollongong and Newcastle and Sydney simply take for granted. And what we're saying to the government is something that was in many regional and rural towns 15, 20, 25 years ago. What we want is some of these services back. And we don't just want big new buildings. What we actually need is the services to be delivered out of these pieces of infrastructure, because good healthcare is not delivered by buildings, it's delivered by the men and women that the HSU and the Nurses and Midwives Association support and represent. It's those people that we're also fighting for, to make sure that they can deliver the services that our community rightly expects. So to each of you, thank you for the invitation. To Fiona and Christy, thank you so much for having me. But also to Dr. Holland, this has been very difficult for him. This is a challenging thing for him. I want to acknowledge Dr. Holland and his tireless work, something he doesn't have to do. But he does it because he believes, like all of us, in good public health care right across New South Wales, and in particular in regions and rural areas like here. So to all of you, thank you. I will keep you informed about the progress, but it is my sincere pleasure to be here, and thank you for taking the invitation to invite me.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, and I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, and thank you, Bunga. Your welcome to countries are the most beautiful welcomes, and I think really signify the community that everyone lives in. It is the most beautiful community with most beautiful people. And when I first stood for election all those years ago now, the biggest issue that was raised with me was the health services in this area. I talked with person after person about having to travel outside of the area for health treatment. And I just want to thank you both for sharing your stories. And it's the stories of cancer survivors, of parents with young children that have to travel out of the area for basic care that should be provided locally. It is an absolute travesty of justice that that basic level of care is not available in this local area. I want to acknowledge One Eurobodalla Hospital in particular, Fitzroy and Mullany, who contact me quite regularly, which is wonderful. And it's everybody in the community that fights for this cause. Ryan has been absolutely terrific. The HSU and the Nurses and Midwives Association. You know, I get contacted now as the federal member about every type of health issue you can think of. And people are outraged. I've had calls from people telling me that the independent monitors are being ripped out of the Batemans Bay Hospital. And the doctors have fought that. You know, we've got no intensive care unit in the new hospital that they're proposing, no mental health inpatient beds, no paediatrics, no neonatal. It is just atrocious what this government is doing. And I know, like you, when the announcement was made of the hospital back in 2019, we all had a level of hope. I believe we had a level of hope that some of this would be better. And I think one by one, as things have come out, and we've realised, and of course through Dr. Holland and everybody advocating, that that's just not the case. We've been sold, the community has been sold a dud on the new Eurobodalla Hospital, and at the same time they're ripping out services of our existing hospitals that make it even harder. We've seen nurses and doctors and cleaners and positions not being replaced. And this can only mean one thing, that the government is absolutely running down our hospitals and does not care about the health services of people in this area. It is not good enough. It is not good enough that the government is letting down people in this area. I stand for better services, a level 4 service that people deserve. People deserve. I live in the Shoalhaven, we have a level 4 hospital. There is no reason why we should not have those services available here. We should have radiation therapy services locally, and I know it's something that the government promised at the last federal election, and it still hasn't been delivered. It's not good enough that people should have to travel out of the area. Moruya and the Batemans Bay area is a rapidly growing community. We are going to see, obviously, after November 1, so many people here coming through. I know that more and more people are moving to Batemans Bay, Moruya, and the whole Eurobodalla. The issue is that we are going to have a shortage. We already have a shortage of health workers, of nurses, of GPs, health workers across the board, and we know that the fastest growing demand in the Eurobodalla is for health and community workers. And what does that say? With a high age demographic and the second highest age demographic in Australia living in this electorate, we need greater health services. That's what I stand for. I want to commend absolutely everybody that has signed the petitions and your continued advocacy. I hear those stories through my office. Please continue. I will say the current member is missing in action. He is absolutely missing in action and has let down this community that needs better health services. People deserve no less than that. And I will fight for you every step of the way.
Can I first thank my mate Bunja for that welcome to country and pay my respect to elders past and present. This isn't my patch, it is Fiona's patch, and thank you to Ryan for coming down. But we all know that lines on a map mean absolutely nothing to us. Whether they're federal electorate lines, whether they're local government lines, whether they're state electorate lines, they mean nothing to communities across this place. There are people from my part of the world, from the Eden Monaro, that will use this hospital when it is built. that need the services in this hospital. And it is very personal to me. My mother-in-law suffered breast cancer, and she spent 10 weeks doing radiotherapy in Canberra, away from family and friends, away from her support network. These are services that should be provided locally for local people. The Rural Health Alliance says $4 billion is the annual saving to state and federal governments because regional people like us don't actually go and get medical services. We don't visit our GPs, we don't go to our hospitals, because for some of us we know that we will have to travel further in the long run to get specialist services. For some of us we think, oh well, it'll be fine, I'll wait. There is $4 billion annual saving to state and federal governments, and it's about time that money is reinvested into our communities to give our people the level of service that they need. So I am right behind you guys. As I said, it's not my patch, it's Fiona's, and you've got a very fierce advocate in Fiona for you. But lines on a map mean nothing to people when they need to access health services. So whatever we can do to continue to push it from Eden Monaro, we certainly will. Thank you.
It's great to see everyone here whose faces I recognise, and I do want to acknowledge the people behind you, Fitzroy and Milan. This is their petition. That's where this has come from. And thank you to Fiona and Christy and Ryan. It's no one's patch. This is a South Coast issue. This is, it's not a one-dimensional thing going on here. What affects us here in the Eurobodalla affects Bega as well. And what I have a hope for is that soon I'll be able to get the scissors out and cut that sign down and send it over to the Moruya Museum, and it'll just be all history by then. So, and it will be with